The ghost of Howland Island. We are on the line of position. Running north and south. July 2nd, 1937. Somewhere over the Pacific Ocean, the sun is rising. But for one woman, the light is about to go out forever. Her name is Amelia Earhart, the most famous female pilot in the world. The first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic. And right now, she is 22,000 miles into a 29,000-mile journey. Only one leg remains, a 2,500-mile flight from New Guinea to a tiny speck of land called Howland Island, but she never arrives. No distress call. No wreckage. No body. Just a radio silence that has echoed for nearly 90 years. Was she lost? Did she crash? Was she captured? And why does the US government refuse to release classified files about her disappearance? This is the mystery that refuses to die. This is the disappearance of Amelia Earhart. To understand the disappearance, you have to understand the woman. Amelia Mary Earhart was born in 1897 in Atchison, Kansas. She wasn't born rich. She wasn't born famous. But she was born fearless. In 1920, she took her first plane ride. She later wrote, "By the time I had got 200 or 300 feet off the ground, I knew I had to fly." In 1928, she became the first woman to fly across the Atlantic as a passenger. That wasn't enough. In 1932, she flew it alone. She landed in Ireland to a crowd of farmers who asked, "Have you come far?" She had. And she wasn't done. By 1937, Earhart set her eyes on the ultimate prize, circumnavigating the globe along the equator, the longest, most dangerous route, 29,000 miles. No woman had ever done it. No man had ever done it alone. She had a navigator named Fred Noonan, a former Pan Am pilot. Together, they climbed into a twin-engine Lockheed Electra 10E, packed with extra fuel tanks, and took off from Oakland, California on May 20th, 1937, the first leg, Miami to San Juan, then to Brazil, across the Atlantic to Africa, over to India, Southeast Asia, New Guinea. By late June, they had flown 22,000 miles. Only 7,000 remained. The hardest part? Finding Howland Island. Howland Island is a strip of coral and sand less than 2 miles long, barely visible above the Pacific. In 1937, it had no airport, just a makeshift runway cleared for Earhart. And it was surrounded by thousands of miles of open ocean. To help guide her, the U.S. Coast Guard stationed a cutter ship called the Itasca just offshore. The Itasca was supposed to communicate with Earhart by radio and send up smoke plumes to mark the island on July 2nd, 1937 at 10 a.m. local time. Earhart and Noonan took off from Lae, New Guinea. The flight to Howland was estimated at 18 hours. For the first several hours, everything seemed fine. Radio messages were exchanged. But as they approached the island, problems mounted. The Itasca could hear Earhart, but she could not hear them. Her radio equipment was failing, and it seemed she was operating on a different frequency than the ship. Worse, Noonan was navigating by celestial means, using the sun and stars, but clouds may have blocked their view. At 7:42 a.m. Howland time, Earhart radioed, "We must be on you, but cannot see you. Gas is running low." Then, at 8:43 a.m., her last clear message, "We are on the line of position. 157-337, we are running north and south of." That was it. Silence. The Itasca sent out continuous radio calls on every frequency. Nothing. Ships and planes searched 250,000 square miles of ocean. No wreckage. No oil slick. No life raft. No bodies. On July 19, 1937, the U.S. Navy called off the search. Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan were declared lost at sea. But the story was just beginning. Pause 2 seconds for music shift. For nearly 9 decades, theorists have split into 2 main camps, the crash and sink theory and the castaway theory. Let's start with the first. The most widely accepted explanation is simple. Earhart ran out of fuel, crashed into the Pacific, and the plane sank. By the time search planes arrived, the wreckage had already disappeared beneath the waves. Supporting this, Her last message said, "Gas is running low." The Itasca heard her voice fading in and out, suggesting she was low on fuel and altitude, and the Pacific in that region is more than 3,000 meters deep. Finding a small plane on the ocean floor would be like finding a coin in a swimming pool. The size of Texas, but here's the problem. If she simply crashed, why was there no debris? No floating wreckage? No oil slick? Planes don't vanish completely. And the Navy searched for 16 days, by air and sea, and found nothing. Absolutely nothing. That leads to the second, more controversial theory. In 1940, a British colonial officer named Gerald Gallagher was on Gardner Island, now called Nikomaroro, a remote atoll 350 miles southeast of Howland. He reported finding a partial human skeleton, the remains of a campfire, animal bones, and a sextant box. The skeleton was sent to Fiji for examination. A doctor measured the bones and concluded they belonged to a short, stocky European male. The case was closed. The bones were later lost, but in 1998, a group called TIAR, the International Group for Historic Aircraft Recovery, re-examined the doctor's notes using modern forensic techniques. Their conclusion? The bones likely belonged to a tall, slender European female, exactly matching Amelia Earhart. TIAR's theory is this: Earhart, unable to find Howland, turned south and landed on the reef of Nikomaroro at low tide. The plane was soon washed into the ocean by rising waves. Earhart and Noonan survived on the island for days or weeks, living off birds and rainwater, until they eventually died as castaways. Evidence? In 1940, a British survey party found a woman's shoe, a bottle of liqueur, and a sextant box, all dating to the 1930s. In 2010, underwater sonar detected an anomaly off the reef that some believe is the wreckage of the Lockheed Electra, but here's the catch. Multiple expeditions have searched those waters. They found rocks, coral formations, and shipwrecks from the 1800s, no Electra. And the bones? Lost forever. Without DNA, we'll never know. Now we enter the darkest, most controversial theory that Amelia Earhart didn't die at sea. She was captured. In the months before her flight, the Pacific was becoming a military powder keg. Japan was expanding its empire. And some historians believe Earhart's flight was actually a covert mission to spy on Japanese fortifications in the Marshall Islands. According to this theory, Earhart and Noonan veered off course, ran low on fuel, and landed on the Japanese-controlled island of Mili Atoll. They were taken prisoner, interrogated, and eventually executed as spies. Supporters point to eyewitness accounts. Residents of Saipan claim to have seen a white woman in a pilot's suit, and a man being held by Japanese soldiers in 1937. Others claim they saw a plane burning on a beach. In 1966, a CBS newsman named Fred Gorner published a book claiming Earhart had died in Japanese custody. He pointed to declassified Navy documents that suggested the U.S. knew about her capture but stayed silent to avoid provoking Japan, but critics say these eyewitness accounts are unreliable memories, distorted by decades of rumor. No photographs exist. No Japanese records have surfaced. And if Earhart was a spy, why would the U.S. government send its most famous female pilot on such a dangerous mission? The U.S. government has consistently denied any cover-up, but they have also refused to release certain classified files about Earhart's flight, files that remain sealed even today. So what really happened to Amelia Earhart? In 2019, Robert Ballard, the oceanographer who found the Titanic, led a $2 million expedition to search for the Electra. He used advanced sonar and deep-sea robots. He found nothing. In 2023, a sonar image from a deep-sea exploration company showed a plane-shaped anomaly, 16,000 feet below the surface. Experts are skeptical. It could be rocks. It could be a World War II wreck. It could be anything. The truth is, after nearly 90 years, we still don't know. We don't have a plane. We don't have a body. We don't have a final radio message that makes sense. What we have is a woman who pushed the limits of human courage. A woman who once wrote, "Adventure is worthwhile in itself." Perhaps that's the only answer we'll ever get. Adventure, mystery, and silence over the Pacific. Amelia Earhart disappeared on July 2, 1937. But her story never landed.